Good day, sir. I am Cadet Abarques, and we are Group 5. And my group members are De Los Santos Eunices, Codrilon Christian Ed, Castones Julius Jr., Obatay Clem, Saguban Noel Lazona. So our given topic is human trafficking and human rights and migration. So first topic, human trafficking. What is human trafficking? So first, my topic is what is human trafficking? Human trafficking, it is defined as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some kind of labor or commercial sex act, and so it that definition, human trafficking focus on humans. It's about people being taken either forcefully or being tricked, manipulated into essentially being a product. That's where the trafficking comes from, being sold, both, and traded. And in the term trafficking, there comes the idea that it happens across different countries, across different communities, across the world. However, from a report from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which is pulling much information from, we found the most exploitation takes place close to home. Their data shows that intra-regional, as a as in farm different parts of the some country, and domestic trafficking are the major form of trafficking of people. So next, why is made human trafficking what I'm supposed to be a global issue? It's that we base of this data from a report that comes from United Nations. The UNO de ODC found that we collected data from 155 countries, and you find that a lot of these countries are hiding numbers. So first, you have the issue of the millions of men, women, and children that are being sold, both, and traded around the world. Now, this comes from the fact that governments are trying to hide these numbers from United Nations. This issue is at such a large scale, and it's not just the issue itself, but also comes from the countries not wanting to admit the truth about the numbers of investigation that comes up with that end, because this is such an important issue, such a cruel, interesting that can happen to a person to be bought or sold into human trafficking. And you find that the biggest part of this is that human trafficking can be hard to report, because it's not like the other crime where you know for certain that it's happened to you. If you're being robbed, you can report that you've been robbed. But if you're being sold into human trafficking, there's no way out. There is, unless you escape, which can be so hard to do. Many victims end up dying. They don't escape, so much harder to go out. And talk about it happens to on your family. It's not knowing what happens to people reporting missing and end up being sold to human trafficking. In other explanation, human trafficking is a group of crimes involving the exploitation of men, women, and children for financial gains, which is violating a fundamental human rights. Human trafficking is the third largest international crime, over 1 million people trafficking annually. Millions of men, women, and children are victims of human trafficking. Human trafficking is a part of the large problem of slavery. Human trafficking is when people are transported by force, deception to become enslaved. Traffickers use blackmail, abuse, and their threats to force victims to comply with their wishes. In the destination country usually caused by poverty, lack of economic opportunities, especially for women and children, and a demand for certain service in the destination country. So that would be all for my topic, sir. Thank you.
Good day, sir. My name is Cadet De Los Santos Unisis. My topic is all about the example of human trafficking. So every year, millions of men, women, and children are trafficked worldwide. It can be happen in a community, and the victims can be any of it, such as age, race, gender, and nationality. Traffickers might use violence, manipulations, all false promises of well-paying jobs or romantic relationships to lure victims into trafficking situation. So the first example of human trafficking is sex exploitation. So this example is can also be called prostitutions. So it is an actual or attempted abuse of an position of vulnerability, power, or trust for sexual purposes. So example of an scenario is a college girl who has no money to pay her tuition fees, and then a teacher offers to the student that he will pay her tuition fees if she agrees to have an sex with her teacher. So student the girl student agrees to his teacher offers so that her tuition fees will get paid. So the next example is forced marriage. Forced marriage is a marriage in which is one and or both parties have not personally expressed their full and free parties have not consent to the union. So example of an scenario, a man who has a crush on a woman and he wants to have a marriage on her, but the woman won't accept his proposal because that man has too many vices, and it also has a criminal record. And then the man forced to get what he wants. He threatens the family of the woman just to agree and get them marriage. So this example is very common. So another example is the drug cultivation. Drug cultivation is a type of drug crimes involving growing plants that are classified as controlled substances such as marijuana because it is an hallucinogenic plant. So example of an scenario, a drug syndicate who wants to export their illegal product to the other countries. They use human as a carrier of the drug to deliver to the other country in ways of swallowing the drug so that it can't be easily caught by the authorities. And then the carrier arrived to the destination. They forced the carrier to poop so that the drug will come out, or in other ways they kill the carrier to get the drug inside their bodies. So that's all about the example of an human trafficking. Thank you.
Good day, sir. This is Estonis Julius Jr. and one of the member of Group 5. So, our topic is all about the human trafficking. So, I'm gonna talk about what is or what are the three elements of human trafficking. So, the three elements of the human trafficking is the acts, uh, means, and purpose. So, the Article 3 of Trafficking Protocol clarifies that trafficking in persons has three constituent elements. So, the number one, which is act or what is done, and the means or how it is done, and three is the exploitative purpose or means or why it is done. So first we're gonna talk about the act or what is done. So the trafficker must commit one or more of the following acts. So recruit. First one is recruit. So or recruitment. So sex traffickers approach potential victims in a variety of ways, including pretending to be a potential boyfriend or friend, contacting them via social media such as Facebook, or posting newspaper or internet ads for jobs and opportunities, or even threatening or kidnapping them. So the next one is transport. So this can include like thief or a drug cultivation, or selling counterfeit goods, or forced begging. So victims often have quotas and can face severe punishment of and if they do not perform adequately. So next one is transfer. So transport is almost the same. So the person's requirement or and transportation to harboring in a different part of our country means deception and fake promise of the good working condition, and the purpose is labor exploitation for domestic work. So that is example. So the next one is harbor. So harbor is Human trafficking is the recruitment or transportation or transfer or harboring or receipt of people through force or fraud or deception with the aim of exploiting them for profit. So the next one is receive. It's completely understandable. And next one is give or receive benefits. So certified and eligible victims of human trafficking can receive benefits and services necessary for their safety, protection, and basic well-being. So this include housing assistance and food assistance. So the last but not the least, the control. So some of the main forms of control found in human trafficking in person case are violence and threats of violence, deception, imprisonment, collusion, or then bondage or isolation, religion, or culture and belief. So traffickers frequently use a blend of control of methods. So I think that is all for my report, and thank you for listening, and have a good day. God bless.
Good day, sir. I am Clem Albert Batay. My topic is the element 2, which is the means, and element 3, and which is the purpose. Element 2, the means of human trafficking, or how it done. Traffickers use a variety of tactics to get a trafficked person to do what they want and to maintain control, including the use of violence or threat of violence against the person or her friends and family. A trafficker will often use a violence or threat of violence, a control tactic. The trafficked person may be made to fear that they or their loved ones will be sexually assaulted, beaten, or killed, or may be forced to witness the beating or sexually assaults of the other to make sure that they comply with the trafficker's demand. Second one is the coercion. The meaning of this is the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. A trafficker may coerce another person through fear, such as the fear of being returned to a war-torn home, being separated from the loved ones, or losing immigration status. The second one, or the other one, is abduction. It is the action of instance of forcibly taking someone away against their will. Abduction is the act of leading someone away by force or lies. The another one is fraud. Fraud is knowing a misrepresentation of the truth that induce another person to act to his or her detriment. In the context of human trafficking, fraud may involve a transaction where a trafficker dupes a person into paying for forged or false travel documents, work visa, or the false employment contraction, in the belief of these documents are legitimate in the destination country. The trafficker may also charge an illegal fee for a job that doesn't exist. A trafficked person may have borrowed money from her traffic to pay for the fraudulent documents or employment contract. The trafficked person is the situation of death of bondage to her trafficker, who may then also require her to pay the money back at high interest rate or with additional fees and penalties as time goes on. Another one is deception. A trafficker may deceive a person into being trafficked by telling her that well-paid job and good working condition, or a young person a modeling contract, or a singer career waiting her another place when in fact she may be exploited for sex or labor. Youth and children, especially, are more easily deceived because they are less aware of the risk of the trafficking. Parents too, though, can be deceived into letting their children go with trafficker if they believe their children are being offered a better life. Another one is abuse of power. A trafficker who is a position of control or authority over another, such as a spouses, a parent, or a teacher, may abuse her or his power to exploit that another person. Elementary, the purpose of exploitation or why it is done. The purpose or purpose for which trafficker use the people they traffic may be vary, but the ultimate goal for all trafficker is the same. They exploit another human beings for profit, which can be financial gain or material benefit. Trafficker exploit other of variety of purposes. First is the sexual exploitation. A person trafficked for sexual exploitation is forced to provide sexual acts against their will for the financial benefits or material gain of the trafficker. Another one is the forced labor. All worker or service which is exact from any person under the menace of any penalty and which the said of person has not offered himself voluntarily. Domestic servitude. Domestic servitude is a form of forced labor and is defined as a slavery or bondage. A person trafficked is a domestic servant may be forced to clean the house, to do the laundry, cook meals, maintain the lawns and gardens, and look after the children, elderly relative, and pets. Most trafficked domestic servants are required to be available at all times and work or for every day for little or no pay, and they are often verbally, physically, and sexually abused by members of the household. The trafficked person may have no control over their traffic or identity documents, such as their passport, which may be confiscated by the employer or trafficker. The another one is forced or coerced organ removal. Kidneys, livers, and hearts may particularly are high demand in around the world for people who need a replacement organ but can find a legitimate organ donor. The organ removal are often conducted in clandestine clinics, with little or no attention given to the trafficked person post-operative care. The organ is then sold on the international black market for large amount of money. If the trafficked person survives the surgery, they may receive a tiny portion of that money.
Good day, sir. I'm Cadet Condrilon Christian Ed, and I'm a member of Group 5, and my topic is the current state of human trafficking in the Philippines. So, first, what is human trafficking? So, human trafficking, otherwise known as modern slavery, involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act against the will of the person trafficked. So traffickers may use violence, manipulation, or false promises of well-paying jobs or romantic relationships to lure the victims into being trafficked. Trafficking victims include men, women, children of all ages, races, and nationalities. So, human trafficking, wa sila gipili kung mabay-babay baka or malaki or ang uban gani kay minors. Ang na-focus mo dahil sa mga human traffickers kay they can earn money by using them. Mo wa sila paki kung unsa pa na. Because they focus on the money they can earn by using these people. So, kaning human trafficking himuon kang mura kag himuong slave mo nang gitawag siya modern slavery karon. Ang human trafficking mo tawag siya modern slavery karon. Mura kag himuong kag slave pero in a bad way. Hinuon slave Japan pero ilaha about sa sex, about kanang sexual. So that is a human trafficking. So, usa sa pinakuan sa human trafficking kay sex trafficking. So, sex trafficking is human trafficking. Pare-parehara na sila or parehara gina sila for the purpose of sexual exploitation. So, sexual exploitation includes rape, prostitution, sexual photography, subjection to pornography, or witnessing sexual acts and sexual assault or in which adult has not considered or was pressured into consenting. So adults and children can be sexually exploited, including sexual slavery, which is considered a form of modern slavery. So mo na ni. So sa sex trafficking mo ni uso karon sex trafficking. So makayong sexual exploitation kay mo man mo kuan nag rape, prostitution o photography o pornography. Maning tawag ng sex trafficking, ang mga sex traffickers i-exploit mo kanang kunuhay ingnon mo nga nindot ang trabaho, pramisan mo nga nindot ang trabaho ihatag sa inyo hay adto pero abot ninyo adto ang nakay natuod kay manager pero himong kanilang employee about sex kanang nasila example nasila client ni ihatag kanila dawat ra sila sa kwarta niya ikuan si mo himon day kang prostitute wa kay ba nga prostitute day ka himo kundi himo kang kanang sexual slavery ila ra ka gamiton para sex mora na and himo kang sexual photography or sexual pornography. We all know unsa may sexual pornography. So mura kag himon kanilang money making machine kay we all know nga sa social media ron about sa videos, we all know YouTube. So kay bata nga nga mga website about sex. Ara nila ipang post nga i-post nila kay maka-gain mag-views so dako og kwarta. So ikaw gaan kag kwarta gamay pero ilang may mas dako kay nya ikaw makaahat lang kag kuan kay nasilay i-force as I said kanina not so sexual acts to which adult has not consented or was pressured into consenting. So napugos kag pirma ila ka pugsog pirma. So mo na so including slavery. So munang sex trafficking. So karon the current state of human trafficking in the Philippines kay the Philippine law enforcement reported identifying 1,443 victims of sex trafficking. So compared sa una 2,953 victims. So makaingon ta nga mas ubos ang sex trafficking victims karon kaysa sa una. Pero at least makaibaw ta nga na minimize ang mga victims about sa sex trafficking. At least ang kita mga Filipino kay ba nata unsay halos tanan kay ba nata unsay mga mailhanan nga ay kuan din ni murag sabi scam din ni nga kuan scam din ni nga kuan himo na day kang himo na day sex trafficking ra day sex trafficker dito ang ng recruit. At least kita kay ba na ta aware na ta. So ang kasagaran most of Filipinos mailad kay kana namo goy employer or na manager nga kunuhay mo recruit nya i-promisan kag nindot nga trabaho igadto madto gawas nya nindot kay kag trabaho pero igadto day mo na day ang prostitute or imo sex slave imo na kadto. So sila igor dawat sa kwarta ikaw luoy kay ka. So munay kuan sa sex trafficking. So that's all for my report, sir.
Good day everyone, especially to you, sir. I am Cadet Noel Saguban. My topic is all about human rights in migration. During the next decade, migration is likely to be cutting edge issue in international relations, economics, and social orders in many countries. Indeed, during the last few years, new items on the impact of migrations have already moved from the back page to the front page of news media worldwide. Trafficking, remittance, the impact of migrations on employment, and the spread of HIV and crimes. And polemic debates on culturalism are now widely covered in policy debates, political speeches and negotiations, local town hall meeting, and international conference. However, until quite recently, the treatment of individual as migrants, immigrants, and refugees had been little more than a footnote to many policy debates. Governmental consultations and academic reviews, perhaps only in the lurid news reports or deaths of migrants and trafficking. And migrants workers treated brutality in fields and sweet shops was painful dimensions of commonplace denial of the right of dignity of migrants and made visible. So, human rights have migrated throughout history. People migrate for different reasons, such as uniting with their families, seeking better economic opportunities, and escaping human rights abuses, including armed conflict. Precautions and tortures. See Amnesty International, People on the Move. Migrant are generally entitled to the same human rights protections as all individuals. Although states may limit migrants' rights in some ways, such as with regard to voting and political participation. Many human rights treaties explicitly prohibit discriminations on the basis of national origin and requires state to ensure that migrants' human rights are equally protected. Additionally, like other particularly vulnerable groups, migrants have been given a special protection under international law to address situations where their rights are most at risk, such as in the workplace, in detention, uh, or in detention or uh, such as access to social security will also depend on which treaties state has ratified. According to the international human rights norms, which are based upon the inherent dignity of every person, migrants enjoy the fundamental rights afforded to all persons, regardless of their legal status in a state. The Human Rights Committee has explicitly stated that the exemption of the Article 25 of the ICCPR, which pertains to the political participations. All human rights guaranteed in the ICCPR apply to migrants. General comment number 15. The position of alliance under the Covenant 11 April 1986, the rights discussed below apply to all migrants and to not compromise an exhaustive list. Migrants whose rights are protected are able to live in dignity, in security, and in turns are better uh, able to contribute to society, both economically and socially, than those who are exploited, uh, marginalized, and excluded. Human rights norms and standard can be powerful programmatic and methodological tools for action.